Wake up earlier than your doubts. Wake up louder than your excuses. Wake up with a fire that refuses to negotiate with comfort. Because the truth is simple and it is uncomfortable. Success does not come to the busiest person, the smartest person, or even the most talented person. Success comes to the one who can outwork their old self every single day. Most people don't fail because they don't know what to do. They fail because they cannot consistently do what they already know. There is a moment in every life when you have to decide, will I live by feelings or will I live by discipline? Feelings will lie to you. They will say, you're tired today, start tomorrow. They will whisper, you deserve a break, you've done enough. They will comfort you while your future quietly disappears in the background. But discipline is not emotional. Discipline is not romantic. Discipline is not always exciting. Discipline is a decision you make before the moment arrives, so that when weakness arrives, you already have an answer. Wake up and work hard, not because you feel like it, but because your future is watching your present. Look around at the average life, not to judge it, but to understand it. Most people are not failing dramatically. They are failing quietly, one delayed alarm at a time, one skipped workout at a time, one I'll do it later at a time. And years later, they wonder where the time went. Time does not disappear. It compounds. So does effort. So does laziness. Every action is an investment, and every day is a deposit into your future. You are either building momentum or you are losing it. Now understand this, hard work is not punishment. Hard work is not suffering. Hard work is not something to avoid, it is something to respect. Because hard work has a strange quality. It gives you back more than you give it. When you work hard, you don't just earn money, you earn identity. You become the kind of person who can be trusted with more responsibility, more opportunity, more success. And the world doesn't reward what you want. The world rewards what you consistently do. There is a dangerous myth that success is about motivation. It is not. Motivation is temporary. It is emotional. It comes and goes like weather. But work is truth. Work is identity. Work is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. You don't need more motivation. You need more repetition. You need to do the same important thing so many times that failure becomes statistically unlikely. Wake up and ask yourself one question before the world distracts you. What can I do today that my future self will thank me for? And then do it before your mind argues back, because your mind is clever. It will try to negotiate your greatness away. It will say, let's wait for the right time. But there is no right time. There is only time and what you choose to do with it. The difference between people who succeed and people who stay stuck is not intelligence. It is response time. One person acts immediately. The other person overthinks until the opportunity becomes memory. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a consistent effort. A strong life is not built in one dramatic moment. It is built in thousands of ordinary moments handled with excellence. The way you wake up matters. The way you speak to yourself matters. The way you approach small tasks matters, because small disciplines are not small. They are the foundation of massive outcomes. Nobody sees the discipline behind success. They only see the result. But every result has a hidden story of repetition, sacrifice, and delayed comfort. And here is where most people lose. They want the reward without the routine. They want the body without the training, the wealth without the work, the respect without the responsibility. But life does not separate those things. They are packaged together. You cannot separate success from sacrifice. So stop asking, why is this hard? Start asking, who am I becoming because it is hard? Because hardship is not your enemy. It is your training ground. Every early morning you win is a silent victory over the version of you that wants to quit. Every time you choose effort over ease, you are rewriting your identity. And identity is everything. If you see yourself as someone who finishes what they start, you will behave differently. If you see yourself as someone who works even when no one is watching, your life will move differently. But if you see yourself as someone who tries, who hopes, who waits, then your results will always reflect hesitation. So decide today, I am not someone who waits for perfect conditions. I am someone who creates results under imperfect conditions. Wake up and work hard, not to impress anyone, not to prove anything, but to build a life that cannot be shaken by circumstance. Because when you work hard consistently, something powerful happens. Confidence is no longer something you feel. It becomes something you know. You stop hoping you can succeed. You start expecting it because you have evidence. And evidence beats emotion every time. There will be days when you feel nothing, no motivation, no excitement, no inspiration. Those are the most important days. Because those are the days that separate who you are from who you pretend to be. Anyone can work hard when they feel inspired. But only a few can work hard when it is inconvenient, uncomfortable, and uncelebrated. That is where greatness is built in silence, in repetition, in discipline. So wake up tomorrow with a simple mindset. I do not negotiate with my future. I show up. I do the work. I repeat the process. I build the life. Not someday. Not when I feel ready. Today. Because success is not waiting for you in the distance. It is being created in your daily habits right now. And if you keep showing up, if you keep doing the work, if you keep choosing discipline over distraction, one day you will look back and realize something powerful. It was never about luck. It was never about timing. It was always about effort. Wake up, work hard, and keep going until your life becomes the proof that consistency beats everything. Discipline is often misunderstood as restriction, pressure, or a force that limits freedom. But in reality, discipline is the very thing that creates freedom. Without discipline, a person becomes a slave to emotions, distractions, and short-term comfort. With discipline, a person gains control over direction, decisions, and destiny. It is not about forcing yourself to suffer, it is about training yourself to stay committed to what truly matters. Even when your mind looks for excuses to escape, every individual knows what they should do. The gap is rarely knowledge. The gap is action. People know they should wake up early, but they negotiate with the alarm. They know they should work on their goals, but they delay it for a better time. They know they should stay consistent, but they allow mood to decide their output. Discipline closes this gap between knowing and doing. It transforms intention into execution. One of the most important truths about discipline is that it does not depend on motivation. Motivation is emotional, and emotions are unstable. Some days you feel strong, focused, and ready to conquer everything. Other days you feel tired, distracted, and unmotivated. If your success depends on how you feel, then your success will always be unstable. Discipline removes this dependency. It says, I will act regardless of how I feel. This is where real progress begins. Discipline is built in small decisions that seem insignificant at first. Waking up when you said you would wake up. Finishing a task even when no one is watching. Choosing effort instead of ease. Saying no to distractions that offer temporary comfort but long-term regret. These small actions may not feel powerful in the moment, but over time they shape identity. A disciplined person is not born overnight. They are created through repetition of these small, consistent choices. There is also a deeper psychological truth. Every time you act against discipline, you strengthen weakness. And every time you act in alignment with discipline, you strengthen character. This means discipline is not just about productivity, it is about identity formation. Each decision is a signal to yourself about who you are becoming. If you repeatedly choose comfort over effort, you slowly train yourself to avoid difficulty. But if you repeatedly choose effort over comfort, you train yourself to embrace challenge. Discipline also brings clarity. A disorganized life creates confusion because energy is scattered across too many distractions. But a disciplined life creates focus. When you commit to a structure, your mind becomes calmer because it knows what to do and when to do it. There is less mental noise, less internal conflict, and more direction. Discipline removes chaos and replaces it with order. Many people wait for the right moment to become disciplined. They believe they will start when they feel ready, inspired, or motivated. But discipline does not begin in perfect conditions. It begins in imperfect conditions. It begins when you are tired but still show up. It begins when no one is watching but you still do the work. It begins when there is no immediate reward but you still stay consistent because you understand the long-term value. The truth is, discipline is uncomfortable at the beginning. It always feels like resistance. The mind resists structure because structure removes freedom to be lazy. But this discomfort is temporary. As discipline becomes a habit, it becomes easier. What once required effort begins to feel natural. Eventually, discipline stops feeling like a struggle and starts feeling like identity. Another important aspect of discipline is delayed gratification. The modern world constantly promotes instant results, quick success, and immediate pleasure. But real success operates on the principle of delay. You work now, and you receive later. You sacrifice comfort now, and you receive strength later. You invest effort now, and you receive results later. Discipline is the ability to stay committed to a future reward while ignoring present temptation. Without discipline, potential remains unused. Many people have ability, intelligence, and opportunity, but they fail to convert them into results because they cannot stay consistent. Discipline is what unlocks potential. It takes raw ability and turns it into achievement through structured effort. At its highest level, discipline is self-respect. It is a declaration that your goals, your future, and your promises to yourself matter. When you act with discipline, you are telling yourself that your word has value. And when a person respects their own word, their life begins to change in powerful ways. Ultimately, discipline is not about being perfect. It is about being consistent. It is about returning to your path even after distraction. It is about continuing even after failure. It is about choosing direction over impulse again and again until success becomes unavoidable. Every meaningful achievement in life is built on the foundation of daily actions, not occasional actions, not extraordinary bursts of effort. But the simple, repeated things you do when nobody is watching, when no applause is waiting, and when progress feels too slow to notice. The truth is, success is rarely a dramatic event. It is a quiet accumulation of consistent effort. Most people underestimate the power of small actions because they do not see immediate results. They want transformation overnight, but real transformation does not announce itself loudly. It grows silently, like a seed beneath the soil. At first, nothing seems to happen. You water it, you protect it, you wait, but on the surface, it looks unchanged. This is exactly how consistency works. The early stage is invisible progress. And because it is invisible, most people quit too soon. Consistency is powerful because it compounds. Just like money grows through compound interest, effort grows through repetition. One good action does not change your life, but a pattern of good actions does. Reading one page does not make you wise, but reading daily builds understanding. One workout does not build strength, but training consistently transforms the body. One day of focus does not create success, but months and years of focused behavior reshape destiny. The challenge is that human nature prefers intensity over consistency. People often get excited and work very hard for a short time, then burn out. They start with energy, but lack endurance. However, success is not a sprint, it is a system. Systems reward repetition, not intensity. A slow, steady effort that never stops will always outperform a fast effort that cannot be sustained. Daily actions also define identity more than goals do. Many people focus on what they want to achieve, but ignore what they are repeatedly doing. Your goals describe your intention, but your daily actions define your reality. If your daily habits are not aligned with your goals, then your goals remain dreams. But when your habits match your direction, progress becomes inevitable. There is a powerful truth hidden in ordinary routines. What you do every day becomes what you become eventually. A person does not suddenly become successful, fit, or skilled. They become that way through repeated exposure to the same behaviors. Each day is like a vote for the type of person you are becoming. If you vote for discipline, focus, and effort every day, you slowly build a life that reflects those choices. But if you vote for distraction, delay, and comfort, you also build a life just a very different one. And the most dangerous part is that these votes feel insignificant in the moment. Skipping one task does not seem harmful. Delaying one responsibility does not feel serious. But life is not shaped by one decision. It is shaped by thousands of small decisions that accumulate over time. Consistency also builds trust within yourself. When you repeatedly do what you say you will do, you begin to trust your own word. This internal trust is powerful. Many people lose confidence not because they lack ability, but because they repeatedly break promises to themselves. Every time you say, "I will do it tomorrow," and fail to act, you weaken that trust. But every time you follow through, even in small ways, you strengthen it. And when self-trust grows, confidence becomes natural. You no longer need to hope you can succeed. You know you can because you have evidence. Evidence created by repetition. Evidence created by showing up again and again, especially when it was inconvenient. Another important aspect of consistency is patience. In a world that demands instant results, patience becomes a rare strength. But everything valuable takes time to build. Skills take time. Wealth takes time. Health takes time. Respect takes time. There are no shortcuts that bypass the process. Consistency is the price you pay for results that last. People often stop because they cannot see immediate reward. But consistency teaches a different mindset. You are not working for today's results. You are working for tomorrow's reality. Every effort is a deposit into a future you cannot yet see. And if you continue depositing every day, the outcome becomes unavoidable. There will be days when consistency feels meaningless, days when effort feels unnoticed, days when progress feels absent. But those are the exact days that matter most, because consistency is not proven when things are easy. It is proven when nothing seems to be changing, yet you continue anyway. Eventually, something shifts, not suddenly, but gradually. One day you realize you are no longer struggling with the same things you used to struggle with. Tasks that once felt difficult now feel normal. Progress that once felt invisible becomes undeniable. That is the moment consistency reveals its reward. The life you want is not built in rare moments of inspiration. It is built in ordinary moments of repetition. And if you can master your daily actions, you will eventually master your results. Identity is one of the most powerful forces shaping human behavior. More than talent, more than motivation, and even more than knowledge, identity silently determines what a person does when no one is watching. It answers the deeper question behind every action. Who do I believe I am? Because people do not consistently act according to what they know they act according to who they believe they are. This is why two people with the same opportunities can end up with completely different results. One person sees themselves as disciplined, capable, and responsible. The other sees themselves as inconsistent, distracted, or always trying. The difference is not in potential, but in identity. And identity quietly directs every decision long before logic enters the picture. When a person truly identifies as disciplined, they do not need constant motivation to act in a disciplined way. It becomes natural. They wake up and follow through not because they are forcing themselves, but because it aligns with how they see themselves. In contrast, someone who sees themselves as undisciplined will struggle even with simple tasks because their identity already predicts failure before effort even begins. This is why change is often difficult at a surface level. Many people try to change their results without changing their identity. They want better habits, better income, better health, or better performance. But they still internally hold the same self-image. And as long as identity remains unchanged, behavior eventually returns to its old pattern. Temporary effort cannot override a deeply rooted belief about who you are. True transformation begins when identity shifts first. Instead of saying, I am trying to be successful, a person begins to say, I am someone who builds success through daily action. This shift may seem small in language, but it is powerful in direction, because the brain begins to look for evidence to support the identity it believes. Once you define yourself in a certain way, your mind starts aligning behavior with that definition. Every action you take is either reinforcing your identity or challenging it. When you act in alignment with a positive identity, such as discipline or focus, you strengthen that version of yourself. When you act against it, you weaken it. Over time, these repeated actions create a self-reinforcing cycle. Identity shapes behavior, and behavior reinforces identity. This cycle either elevates a person or keeps them stuck. Many people underestimate how quickly identity is formed through repetition. A single action does not define you, but repeated actions begin to reprogram how you see yourself. For example, a person who consistently avoids responsibility slowly begins to identify as someone who cannot handle pressure. On the other hand, a person who consistently completes difficult tasks begins to identify as someone who can be trusted with challenges. The behavior becomes evidence, and the evidence becomes belief. One of the most important realizations is that identity is not fixed. It is flexible, and it can be reshaped. But it does not change through wishful thinking, it changes through proof. Every time you do something that aligns with the person you want to become, you are collecting proof of a new identity. And over time, that proof becomes stronger than your old beliefs about yourself. This is why small actions matter so deeply. People often think big change requires big action, but identity is not transformed in one dramatic moment. It is built in repetition. Waking up on time, finishing a task, keeping a promise to yourself, resisting distraction, these are not small behaviors in the context of identity. They are signals. Each one sends a message to your mind about who you are becoming. The struggle most people face is not lack of ability, but conflict between identity and aspiration. They want to succeed, but they still see themselves as inconsistent. They want discipline, but they still identify with past failures. This internal conflict creates hesitation, doubt, and inconsistency. Until identity shifts, effort will always feel like resistance instead of expression. When identity changes, effort becomes easier. A disciplined person does not debate whether to work, they simply work. A focused person does not constantly negotiate with distractions, they naturally return to focus. This is because behavior flows from identity, not from temporary emotion. The stronger the identity, the more automatic the behavior becomes. Another powerful truth is that identity is shaped by what you repeatedly tolerate. If you tolerate laziness, you begin to accept it as part of who you are. If you tolerate excuses, they become part of your character. But if you repeatedly refuse to accept anything less than your standard, your identity begins to rise to meet that standard. At its core, identity is a story you tell yourself about yourself. And every day, you are either rewriting that story or repeating the old one. The question is not whether you have an identity, it is whether that identity is serving your future or limiting it. When you begin to consciously choose actions that reflect the person you want to become, something powerful happens. Your identity starts to catch up with your behavior. At first, you act like the person you aspire to be. Over time, you become that person. And eventually, there is no difference between what you do and who you are. That is the true foundation of lasting success, not occasional effort, not temporary motivation, but a deeply rooted identity that consistently produces the right actions without internal conflict. Effort is the most honest currency a human being can offer to life. Unlike talent, which can be hidden, or luck, which is unpredictable, effort is always within your control. It is the one resource that does not depend on circumstances, background, or external advantage. No matter where you start, effort is always available to you. And in the long run, it is effort, not potential, that determines the direction of a person's life. Many people misunderstand success because they focus too heavily on outcomes instead of inputs. They look at someone's achievements and assume it is the result of intelligence, opportunity, or timing. But what they often fail to see is the invisible foundation beneath those results, consistent effort applied over time. Every visible success is built on an invisible history of persistence, repetition, and discipline. Effort is powerful because it is cumulative. One moment of effort may seem insignificant, but repeated effort becomes unstoppable momentum. A single push does not move a heavy object very far, but continuous pushing eventually creates movement that cannot be ignored. In the same way, consistent effort creates progress that compounds beyond what a person can initially imagine. The world does not reward intention. It rewards execution. Many people have good ideas, strong dreams, and clear goals, but very few are willing to match those aspirations with sustained effort. Intention without action remains a wish, but intention combined with effort becomes transformation. The difference between those who succeed and those who remain stuck is not what they wanted, is what they are willing to do repeatedly. Effort also reveals character more accurately than words ever can. Anyone can speak about ambition, discipline, or goals, but effort shows what a person truly values. When no one is watching, effort becomes the truest expression of priorities. It shows whether a person is serious about their future or simply entertained by the idea of success. There is a strong truth that most people overlook. Effort always leaves evidence. Even when results are not immediate, effort leaves behind growth. Skills improve slowly. Understanding deepens gradually. Strength builds quietly. But all of it is happening beneath the surface. The absence of immediate results does not mean effort is ineffective. It means the process is still unfolding. One of the greatest obstacles to sustained effort is impatience. People want visible proof too quickly. When they do not see instant progress, they assume their effort is wasted. But real development rarely announces itself in real time. It is only after repeated effort that progress becomes visible. What feels like stagnation in the moment is often silent growth preparing for visible success later. Effort also shapes confidence in a very real and practical way. Confidence is not something that appears before action, it is something that grows from action. When you repeatedly put in effort and survive difficulty, you begin to trust your ability to handle challenges. This trust becomes confidence. It is not emotional belief, it is evidence-based assurance built through experience. Many people wait for confidence before they act, but this approach reverses the natural order of growth. Action produces effort, effort produces results, and results produce confidence. Without effort, confidence has no foundation. It becomes fragile, dependent on mood and circumstance. But when confidence is built on effort, it becomes stable and enduring. Effort also has a powerful psychological effect. It reduces fear. Fear grows in inactivity because the mind fills silence with doubt. But when a person is actively working, their focus shifts from fear to execution. Effort gives the mind direction. Instead of worrying about outcomes, the mind becomes occupied with process. And through process, fear loses its control. Another important truth is that effort multiplies opportunity. People often believe opportunity is rare, but in reality, effort creates visibility. When you consistently apply yourself, you become noticeable. Skills improve, reliability increases, and trust is built. Over time, effort attracts opportunities that would not have appeared otherwise. In this sense, effort is not just a response to opportunity, it is a creator of opportunity. Effort also separates wishful thinking from real ambition. Many people desire success, but only a few are willing to endure the discomfort that comes with sustained work. Effort demands sacrifice. It requires saying no to distractions, comfort, and short-term pleasure. But every sacrifice made in the present becomes strength in the future. The reality is simple. There is no substitute for effort. Not intelligence, not background, not motivation. All of these may help, but none of them can replace consistent work. Effort is the equalizer. It gives every individual, regardless of their starting point, the ability to change their direction. At the highest level, effort becomes identity. A person who consistently puts in effort begins to see themselves as someone who does not quit easily, someone who follows through, someone who builds instead of delays. And once this identity is formed, effort is no longer something they force, it becomes something they naturally express. In the end, effort is not just what you do. It is who you become through what you repeatedly do. And when effort becomes consistent, focused, and persistent, it quietly transforms potential into achievement and ordinary lives into extraordinary outcomes. In conclusion, success is not a sudden event reserved for a few lucky individuals, but a gradual outcome shaped by discipline, consistency, identity, and effort. Every great achievement begins with small, often unnoticed actions repeated over time with patience and commitment. What separates those who rise from those who remain stuck is not talent alone, but the willingness to act when it is difficult, to stay consistent when progress feels invisible, and to continue when motivation fades. Discipline teaches control over emotions and direction over impulses. Consistency turns ordinary actions into powerful long-term results. Identity shapes how a person sees themselves and therefore how they behave in every situation. Effort becomes the daily proof of commitment that slowly transforms potential into reality. When all of these principles work together, success stops being something chased and starts becoming something built. The truth is simple but powerful. Your future is not defined by one moment of inspiration, but by thousands of small decisions you make every single day. If you choose discipline over distraction, consistency over convenience, identity over doubt, and effort over excuses, then progress becomes inevitable. So the real question is not whether success is possible, but whether you are willing to become the kind of person who creates it day after day, choice after choice, action after action.